Good morning and welcome, Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason on this Monday. Look at that, February almost gone. It's the short month to begin with. The February, 28 days. It's already to the 20th. I mean, by next Tuesday, 2 out of the first 12 months of 2023 will be behind us. And Jason, it's already been a crazy year already. The Federal Reserve seemingly talking out of both sides of their mouth. People don't know what to do, right? How high are rates going to go? Is there going to be a pause? Are they going to lower rates? Are people going to get laid off? What about housing, automobiles? I mean, the list goes. Now we got balloons everywhere. I mean, Jason, who knows what to do?
Yeah, I know. And speaking of time moving fast, I mean, it didn't seem long ago where people were talking about Y2K. Remember that? Now we're a quarter of a century into the century, almost. That's hard to think about, isn't it?
Yeah, it really, really is. And we haven't had him here in a while. He's just been, well, let's face it, he's just been too busy. But we've got Joey joining us today, my son Joey, Northwestern Mutual. And the timing couldn't be better because over the weekend, Vanguard, if you listen to the Half Empty Cup with Jason and I in this show, you know what we're talking about when we're talking about Vanguard, right? They pretty much, they're the largest 401k company in the world, which kind of makes them quasi like, hey, we own pretty much all the companies out there in the world. They came out with some incredible numbers that the average person with their 401k last year lost 20%. And we had Joey on for how long. You need to call him because, listen, he doesn't actually even get anything for your 401ks. He's going to leave you where you need to be. But, Joey, it's all about having yourself properly placed in the marketplace. Otherwise, you lose 20% of your money.
100%. That's the exact reason that we want to chat with people out here is because, probably the last time you visited your 401k or ran through with your quote-unquote work advisor could have been 10 years ago. And you filled out a simple pie cookie-cutter spreadsheet, and then that's how you've been allocated for however long you've been there, and you haven't really looked at it. And then when you come show us, you talk to us, send us a statement, right? We get a feel for, hey, are you a person that wants to be aggressive in the market or more conservative? Are you staying up late at night? Are you sweating things out? If so, you need to dial it down in your investments and not ride this crazy roller coaster. And it's been a wild last couple of years. It's been up, it's been down, and it's been super down. Recently, are the Feds going to increase rates? Right? All of these things are stuff we should be talking about and then help people put a strategy in place where you're still contributing to your 401k, but you're not down 20%. You're buying things when they're lower and quote-unquote on sale. And when we do eventually recover, you're going to reap those rewards. But it really all comes down from, one, a conversation, and two, the accountability of you to get some homework done, send us over some information so we can really give you the right and correct recommendations, because I am a fiduciary. I need to tell you what's in your best interest, and I can't give you the best answer if I only have access to half the information, right? So I'm urging people, make that phone call. Let's have this conversation, and let's implement some things to make sure that we're going to reap the rewards and the benefits later in the year.
Yeah, and it's something where when you think about it, it's absolute craziness. But this is how 401s are. Like you said, people, they signed up when they first started, right? They made it through their 90 days and now they're eligible for the 401k and someone in HR handed them a packet and they checked a few boxes. And like you said, a lot of people, 5-10 years, they've never, ever done anything besides that. They have no idea, but that's how they want it to be, right? And then to lose 20% of your money, I just, my heart breaks for all the people that they're in their 50s and their 60s and all of a sudden getting hit with a 20% loss. That's totally unacceptable.
It is unacceptable, and it's flat out ridiculous, especially at that age you're talking about, 50, 60. You're losing 20%. There's a problem there. You are chasing way too much in this market, in this economy, and especially in this political landscape. You need to make sure that your money's protected, you have safe assets driving it, and you can't afford to go down 20%. Can you imagine being in retirement, no longer working, and you see your account statement down 20%? You just lost a fifth of your retirement money. All due to the fact that we weren't able to be transparent, we weren't actively thinking about it, and we didn't make a simple phone call to look at our allocation and how we're invested and make some changes, right? You know, you talk to your HR lady, oh, I have an advisor through work. They are not going to help you. There's a reason why they're there. They're there to be super basic, super cookie cutter spreadsheet, keep the expenses low for their company. And that's why Vanguard manages all the 401ks. They don't do a hands-on approach. We just had a guy come in last Friday from Vanguard to talk to us about how they're handling 401ks. It's nothing to do with how we do our things. It's not as impersonal. It's not as in-depth. They just hand out a cookie cutter spreadsheet and have you fill it out. Whereas, hey, how old are you? What's your time horizon in the market? What are your goals? What do you want to retire on? And how do we structure an analysis to show how to get there? But yeah, if you're just relying on HR or your advisor through work to help you out, you're doing something wrong.
Let me tell you, this is why we got the kid here. We'll be back more with Joey right after this. Patriot Radio News Hour. Don't touch that dial. 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason on this Monday. We got my son Joey on the line like we do. Hopefully here, now the holidays are over, we'll have him here pretty much regularly on every Monday. He's over at Northwestern Mutual. And Joey, you are nailing it all year last year with us, but telling people, listen, call me. You're going to lose 20% and you don't need to. And of course, today, over the weekend, Vanguard, the average person lost 20%, which means if the average person lost 20%, Joey, there's people that were losing more than that.
Yeah, there's people losing 30%, 40%. I mean, I had a couple come in for retirement planning. They're 65 years old. They were working with another company. They were down 30%. And we looked at a retirement analysis. They were chasing gains. They didn't even need to chase. They had all the money they needed to have a successful, nice retirement. And they went down 30% in 1 year. You know what their advisor told them? Invest more. Keep putting more in at the same asset allocation, as risky and aggressive as it was. They come chat with us. We changed that whole allocation over for them. We tax loss harvested their account. They're going to have $50,000 in tax write-offs after chatting with us and going down 40%. Right? There are so many things we can do. If your account is down, come chat with us. We can tax loss harvest your account. We can look at other ways to save. There are so many different routes and avenues we can take with you to help you out. But if you're sitting there and you're down 40%, 20%, right, and your advisor hasn't even reached out to you or sent you an email or a message, or maybe you don't even have an advisor yet, you need someone watching your accounts, your money, so they can hold you accountable and keep you on top of things, right? Your guy at Vanguard, your guy through work, he's not going to call you when it's down 20% because it's not a conversation he wants to have. I'm making sure with me and my clients, we'd establish a philosophy. So we don't even need to have that conversation, right? Now, our accounts may have down 10%, 8%. Yeah, it is what it is. The market's down 20. That is just how it is. You got to ride the waves a little bit. But if you're on that roller coaster like that and you're free falling right now in your account, you need to make some changes. You need to take some action and come chat with my team. There's a reason we don't charge for our time. It's because we're good at what we do and we do the right thing for people. People take action with us, knowing they're going to have a safe retirement. They have someone in their corner that's going to call them and have those tough and difficult conversations. We're also going to look at all the answers, all these different solutions that we can take to solve for whatever problem that is in our face. And so I urge you, reach out to my personal cell. It's 602-909-9048. Again, that's 602-909-9048. Shoot me a call or text. If I don't answer, leave a voicemail, and I will get back to you as soon as I can.
Joey, this is Jason. I was you were starting to hit on something that I was gonna bring to the, let's face it, we're talking to the KHNC audience mostly, and we got people streaming in from all over the country. But one of the reasons you would use someone like Joey, because I get questions once in a while, because some of our people they're just hard assets. They want gold and silver, and they're waiting for the apocalypse, and the end of the world isn't coming. I try to tell people this: it's not the end of the world. Things are changing. Joey, I can tell you this, that I see a possibility over the next year to 2 years of a lot of economic apocalypse, really bad stuff. And you were mentioning, hey, maybe under me, maybe you're only down 8 or 10%. I think that's really the message that people need to understand why they need to call you, which is by this time next year, let's say March of 2024, maybe a lot of really extremely bad things are happening. Maybe the Fed's still raising rates in 2024, which I'm starting to wonder if this is going to be something that's going to happen a quarter point every 6 weeks for the rest of the year and into next year. And you can see a lot of economic catastrophe happening. And Joey, this is just me, and you can back me up on this, I'm sure. People from where they're at now could be losing 40% by next year. Joey and Joe and myself, we're not, we're not gods here. We can't make everything work for everybody. But if you're only down 10 or 15% and everybody else is down 40%, Joey, I think that's it might be a question of, hey, everybody's going to maybe lose a lot here in the next year or two, but maybe you need to call Joey because you're going to lose a lot less if you have somebody paying attention. Because let's face it, when the sky is falling, sometimes you're looking at the sky and you're not looking at your economic position.
100%, Jason, and I'm in agreement with you. I mean, I can't say for sure, and I won't go out there and say it, but yeah, there is a chance next year you could be down 40%, and it's the average for everybody, right? We keep increasing rates, keep hiking them up, and one thing people don't know, they increase these rates. We have assets, aka our life insurance policy, our dividend rate goes up, right? So we are put in a great spot where not only do we help you out with the investment side of things, but how do we hedge against the market when it's in down turmoil? How do we make sure you have another bucket of money that's growing while you're still going down, right? And people always talk to me, I talk to KHNC listeners, hey, the end of the world is coming. This disaster is coming. I don't want to do anything, right? Well, what happens when you're wrong? What happens when everything turns out to be okay and you didn't put a plan in place, and now you're at rock bottom, right? If the end of the world is going to happen, you might as well just buy guns and butter, and that's it, and call it a day. If the end of the world happens, honestly, I'm not going to buy gold from you if the end of the world happens. I'll buy an AR off of you. And so I like to tell people we need to plan as if we're still here. It's not the apocalypse. Yes, there might be some economic turmoil, but wouldn't you want to work with someone that's going to have you in the best spot you can be and be straight up transparent with you along the way? And if you're right, the end of the world happens, this and that, hey, at least we plan for as if it didn't. And that's all I really have to say to people is if you want to make sure you're in the best spot possible, chat with my team and I. Let's take a look at everything and let's educate you on the things we're talking about and then put them into place and start implementing some planning.
There you go, Joe, right? I mean, I understand people get scared, but here's the thing is when you're put into a fearful position, people make dumb mistakes. So you need to have somebody in your corner, right? I mean, even Rocky Balboa had Mickey right in his corner, right, Joe?
Yeah, and again, the thing that people got to understand is, hey, you don't have to try to do this alone. You don't have to do this by yourself because it's not set up for you to succeed to do it that way. And again, the biggest thing is, as we talked about, we think this is going to be a couple of different type of events. Right now, we're in the rate rising side of things, which you need to have a totally different plan then when they reverse course, and wherever that is that 2023, is that 2024, then you want to have a totally different plan. Because, and again, what most people do is nothing. So they lose 20, 30, 40% on the way down. And then when it comes back, okay, well, you know what? Maybe by the time maybe I got back to where I was, and all of a sudden 5 years went by, and you kept contributing to your 401k, but guess what? You only have the same amount of money you had 5 years ago. This is why you need someone like Joey, because you know what? Joey's gonna, hey, 5 years went by, the market went up, it went down, it back up, it went back down, and guess what? You still were able to have 50% more money. I mean, that's really what it's all about. Joey, give out your information one more time.
Yeah, reach me at my personal cell. It's 602-909-9048. Again, that's 602-909-9048. Shoot me a call, text, leave a voicemail. If I don't answer, I'm probably in a meeting with another potential client, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. But let's get some things straightened out. Let's figure out where you're at. I know it can be nerve-wracking talking about the finance and bringing things up, and a lot of people just want to throw it under the bed, shove it on the rug, whatever it may be. But it's going to come to bite you in the butt in 10 years from now when you're looking to retire and decided not to look at it. I've had too many people call me, right? They're in retirement. They're living on Social Security. There's really not too much we can do for you. But you got to plan before you reach retirement. Social Security is not going to cover you like you think it is. You're going to get taxed. You're going to have health care costs. You're going to be left with a little bit of money every month. And a lot of people aren't able to live off that money, and they got to go back and work at Walmart as a greeter. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. But if we can take some action and make a phone call and put some things in place, we won't be in that position. We're not going to work miracles for you, but we're going to help you do one thing, one step at a time, and make sure that we get where we're trying to go to. And at the very least, we implement some things, we chat, and you say, hey, Joe, not for me. Well, guess what? You didn't pay me for my time. So I think 100% everyone I talk to should be making some moves and making some planning happen, because I'm tired of seeing people come in, not wanting to do it, and then a year later, they're in an even worse spot. We got to get things rolling. We got to plan some things. We got to have these conversations, and we got to do some homework.
There it is. Listen, there's no shortcuts to any of this, right? Right, Joey? There's no shortcuts to any of this. You got to put the time in. And again, he's going to put you in the right place. He's going to tell you where you need to be. Not to mention, let's face it, the tax laws, they change constantly. So many people don't even realize how much of a tax benefit they could have got had they simply had the right person in their corner. And I know you talked a little bit about it today. Hey, you took some big losses. We may be able to do some tax stuff for you.
100%. We make that tax loss harvesting is what it's called. We take those losses and offset some of your taxes, right? A lot of people don't know about that strategy. Why? Because it can be very confusing. A lot of this financial stuff is very confusing, which is why you have someone in your corner to look at it for you and then educate you on the process. This is all I do every day. Right? You go to work every day for 8 hours, 10 hours, whatever. Maybe the last thing you want to do is do this research, which is why we come into your corner to educate you on the process. And I can't tell you how many times I've gone through the same education system with people over and over and over. I know you're going to forget what we talked about. Don't worry. When we chat again in 4 or 6 months, I'm going to remind you again and educate you again, right? And we're going to make sure that not only are we experts on your plan, that at the end of the day, you become an expert with your own plan and you know what's going on. Too many people I talk to have no idea. They don't even know what their budget is. We can help you with that, right? We need to put these into place. We need to make sure we're protecting against taxes. That is going to be the biggest expense in our lifetime. So let's expose ourselves to some tax-efficient vehicles, learn about some tax laws and tax codes, then restructure your 401k, and we can get into the bigger, more complicated parts of planning once we get the basics down.
Joey, give out that number one last time. I know you got a meeting to get to.
Yep. Reach me my personal cell, 602-909-9048. Again, that's 602-909-9048. It's always great chatting with you guys. Thanks for having me on, and look forward to coming in next Monday.
There you have it. There's my son Joey with Northwestern Mutual, and he's been laying it down for people, telling you what you got to do. And it's so funny because there's probably outside. Listen, God and family, right? I mean, come on. This is what is important in most people's life. We'll throw country in there, but God and family. Jason, you know what? Finance is a big part of that. Especially today. I mean, think about what they've done, obliterating the middle class, and people can't understand. You know, it used to be you went to work, you worked hard, you put your 30, 40 years in, you had a good pension, right? Things were great. They got rid of all that stuff, and now you invest in this 401k. You work your butt off 20, 30 years, and you look, and you only got $100,000 in there. And you're like, man, I paid over 20, 30 years. It's my own. I didn't get anything out of these returns. Joey will make sure that doesn't happen. We'll be back. Eight 800-951-0592. Joe and Jason, Patriot Radio News Hour. A quick look here at the markets. We got a mixed bag. The Dow is mixed. The Dow is higher. The S&P and the NASDAQ are lower. Gold and silver are up today. Gold's up 3 at 1844. Silver's up, let's call it 12 cents, 21.83. The 10-year note at 317 this morning. I'm sorry, that's not right. 3817. So 317 would have been really good. 382. As we round out the 10-year note. Of course, this market update brought to you by our friends at Y-Refi, another place. Hey, you want to avoid the craziness. You got to have a minimum of $50,000. You can get up to 10.25% return if you go for 5 years. If you just want to try it out for 1 year, they're going to give you 6.25% for 1 year. Every year, 2 years you get more, 3 years, 4 years. 5 is the longest commitment they'll take. Everything is guaranteed. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter about rates. It doesn't matter about 401ks. Jason, it just doesn't matter about really any, Chinese spy balloons or Biden showing up in Ukraine today. It doesn't matter. It's all, you're locked in. You know exactly what you're going to get month after month. Invest. YRefi.com. That's the word invest, the letter Y, REFY.com, or 888-Y-REFI-24. And Jason, I was talking about Joe Biden showed up in Ukraine. You know what's so funny? Apparently we found out, we called the Russians first to tell them, hey, by the way, we're going to send Bozo the Clown over there. Make sure you don't drop any bombs in Kiev for this time frame. But Biden pledging, listen, more money. Why not? Right? Let's face it. We're going to give Ukraine more money than we spent in all of World War II. And of course, we got the debt ceiling and everything else. But Jason, it's a war about money, isn't it?
Yeah, I think all wars are about money. I mean, I had a customer come in several years ago, and he kind of demonstrated it very well. I have this Elvis desk calendar that I use. I get one every year for my mom as a Christmas present. And he picked it up and he started walking out of the office like, this is what all the war is about. You have something that I'm deciding to take. What are you going to do to stop me from taking it? And that's essentially what all wars are about. Now, there are other reasons for wars. I get it. There used to be the romantic, I did it for the honor of my daughter or the queen or something. I get that. But that's just not what happens nowadays. All wars are economic wars, all of them. And I find it really questionable that you would supposedly risk the president of the United States going into a war zone. That makes no sense. There's something very phony and fake about, hey,
absolutely,
we're putting the president in a war zone.
No sense at all, right? It's ridiculous. This war was ridiculous. We said it from the very get-go. Ukraine, no, the people are great. This has always been, before it was part of the USSR, part of the Soviet Union, since it gained, I guess, independence, if you will, a very corrupt government. Let's face it, it's still corrupt. I mean, they just had to get rid of like half of their government officials because they keep stealing all the money we keep giving them. But again, they didn't need to be a part of NATO. They didn't need to be part of the EU. They are significantly, dude, as far as importance goes, they are not a significantly important nation by any stretch of the means. Jason, all of this was done, again, to cover up the tracks, to cover things up, to not let people realize the truth, which is they spent us into oblivion. And then I want to give you some numbers from Vanguard, because I love it when they give out these numbers. The median, let's start with the average, because the average will be higher. So all the, Jamie Dimon's got a 401k, all the C-suite level guys, right? They get to stock up their 401ks. The average balance for 2022 dropped by over 20%, as we talked about with Joey. But listen to the average, $112,572. That was the average, $112,000. Are you kidding me? People have had 401ks since the 80s. And that's all we got? Well, that's an average. Here's the problem. Let's go median. Now, the median, what's the difference between average and median? Really simple. The average, you total it all up and you divide it by the number of people. Median, you say, okay, here's the guy with the most money. Here's the guy with the least money, right? Second most, second least, third most, third least, until you get to the middle. That means half of the people with a 401k in this country have this amount of money. Guess what that amount? I couldn't believe it. I was like, man, that had to be right.
25,000. 25,000.
Wow. Wow, you're better. I was thinking this number was going to be like 60. Okay, just to tell you, $27,376. By the way, they were actually down more percentage-wise than the guy with the bigger pot of money. The guy with the big pot of money down 20. The smaller guys were down 23%. Jason, it's absolutely incredible that how bad of condition people are. And of course, now people are doing what? They're stopping their 401k contributions. They're borrowing against it. And yet we still want to say we're middle class.
I'll say this, your guess of 60,000, I think is actually the right number, meaning this. Anybody who has a 401k for 10 or more years, I think your number is pretty correct. I mean, numbers are tricky things, aren't they, Joe? The kid that just got out of college, got a job, and he started his 401k is going to bring that average way down. So numbers are very tricky. If you got all the newbies out, Joe, probably around 50,000, it would be a reasonable number.
You know what? That'd be interesting if they would break it down. Okay, if you've had a 401k, say for at least 5 years or 10 years, what would that number be? But it's even still, 50 or 100. Think about this, 50,000. You're not buying a new car. You're not buying a new car. I mean, you can buy a low-end one. Even the average balance, 112,000. You can't even buy a loaded Escalade for that, right? The new Ford FE150 electric. Can't even buy that. I mean, it's.
Well, Joe, you want to know what $25,000 is? $25,000, which is that average or the median number that you came up with. If you bought a house and you have a significant mortgage and you're paying at least $1,000 a month on the interest, that $25,000 is only 2 years of interest on your mortgage. That's how small that number is, Joe.
Yeah, it's microscopic. That doesn't even get you the average price of a used car anymore, $25,000. 800-951-0592. When we get back, I have a very tiny special coming up. It's not very big, but get ready to dial. Heck, if I was you, I'd just dial and buy it right now without me even telling you what it is. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back after the break. 800-951-0592. Nobody did call during the break and say, I'll just buy it. You probably should have. We had a deal walk in the door late Friday. I'll say this. Here's what I don't like today. I love gold. Gold, you know what? Gold actually has performed pretty well here the last few days. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday last week. Obviously, the inflation data and that jobs number took gold off from. Gold was $1,960 that first week of February. 3 weeks ago, it was not. It touched 1960. So here at 1844, 1845, you're getting some really good value. A big jump in premiums this morning. A big jump in premiums. And I was waiting for that, Jason. I knew we wouldn't get too far into it. Premiums came way down. They've been down, which has been nice for the last, 8-12 weeks. We told you it wouldn't last. This morning, there was a big jump in premium. But here's the thing. We bought these things great on Friday. I've got 15 $20 Saints. So these are the St. Gaudens. These are 1908 up until gold confiscation in 1933. Guys, remember Teddy Roosevelt. Hey, the Liberty coin, which was the side profile of Lady Liberty's face, that wasn't majestic enough because America was a superpower now. And he commissioned a guy named Augustus St. Gaudens. He was an artist to design this new coin. And St. Gaudens died right before the coin was going to be introduced to the public. So they named it after him. That's why it's called the St. Gaudens. It is the same design that's now on the Silver Eagle. It's the full body Lady Liberty. Connie had a great idea today, because here's what I'm doing today. We sell it today, or I'm just dumping them on the wholesaler because there was a big jump in premium. I'm going to be able to make some decent money just selling them back to them. But she said, hey, Joe, it's 2023. Why not sell them for 2023? So $2,023, but I only got 15 of them. Take them or leave it, because if not, they're going back. 800-951-0592. Take the time. Keep putting them away. As again, we're sitting here. I think, Jason, I think it's really simple. I think two things are going to happen. The Fed is going to continue to raise rates, obviously for a little longer than we thought. Very, very gingerly, which is a mistake. These 25 basis points, that's not helping. Believe me, it's not. You need to get it over with. But here's the problem for all of us. The Fed's going to quit. And inflation's not going to 2%. Matter of fact, I don't think we may never see 2% inflation again. You're hearing everybody on TV. The Fed needs to make the new number 3% or 4%. And remember, this was a Ben Bernanke, Janet Yellen exercise of bull. I can't even say it because I'm on. If this was just a podcast, I would have used a bad word. This was just made up, make-believe fantasy stuff. 2% inflation. Right? They just made it up. There's no textbook. There's no economic guide to say that 2% inflation is such a great number. And believe me, go back, listen. I've got the archive. Go back. Listen to what I was telling you then. I go, that's the introductory number. Don't worry. They'll just change it later. Oh, you know what? Hey, times are different now. We need 3% or we need 4% inflation going forward. Jason, I think this is probably what we're facing.
I agree with that. And there's going to be a resetting economically, I think worldwide, just like World War II. And there's a few different tricks that they can play, Joe, to make things look right. We talk about unpayable interest on the debt. Well, central banks never want there to be a debt that's paid off. Andrew Jackson paid off the national debt in 1835. That there's no reason for a central bank if you have no debt.
Right.
And so the debt's going to have to be there. But the numbers get to this ridiculous length where they're at now, and governments are going to start fighting amongst each other, and people start to break down the world system, something has to be done. There's going to be what you've probably heard many times, the listener, is called the Great Reset, whatever you want to call it. And Joe, there's different ways they're going to do it. We know there's a digital currency coming, but there's, I don't profess that this is going to happen, but one of the ways you do it is you revalue assets. Gold versus the debt has been pretty steady since the Fed took over 1913. An ounce of gold versus whatever the debt is at. If they simply scoop up as much gold as they can and revalue gold at, let's just say they double it. Let's just say tomorrow the digital currency hits and they double the price of gold and the debt stays the same. Now every ounce of gold is $4,000, but the debt didn't go anywhere. But now the debt payments are easier to come up with. By revaluating the price of everything, Joe, in the favor of those who run the debt system, suddenly, we can sell off some of this gold we acquired, and we can rig these numbers so that everything is hunky dory. Everything's great. Now we can lower the rates. We can have sort of a normal economy for a while. And by the way, since we own all the gold, we just bought everything. And that's what's going to happen. Can you imagine they buy up all the gold, they double it or triple it? I've seen some reports where they reevaluate gold at $12,000. Can you imagine if you own all the gold, Joe? How many assets you buy?
We've got one line open on that special. I'm sorry that we don't have more. We can't replace them. 800-951-0592. And Jason, you may have just said something that really resonates with me, as all of these countries around the world are buying record amounts of gold. And you know what? That's a great point. Forget about 4,000, right? It's going to be 10,000, maybe 20,000. So then they can sell it to pay down debts, right? That is a great, listen, a plan that could be very, very feasible. We'll talk about that as we wrap up this show. 800-951-0592. Brittany just handed me a note. We got 5 more Saints still left. 2023. By the way, if Connie answers, you can thank her. It was her great idea. That was what she said. So let's get them here. 1844. Gold's up 3. Silver is up 11 cents. But Jason, I was listening to what you were saying, and I started thinking about, think about this for 15 years. Now, but this will be year 16, 2023, that central banks have been adding to their gold holdings. And we know last year it was a record. Never had they bought so much of it. And I'm starting to wonder, is that the plan? Right? Did the banks, are they telling them, okay, listen, guys, we got the debt thing. We're going to go digital. We're going to need much higher inflation, but everybody get gold. We're going to revalue this thing. And then you can start paying off your debt, at $20,000, every ton of gold is, approaching $1 billion, right? Hey, you've got enough gold, right? The U.S. at 8,000 metric tons, right? You can do the math, right? Hey, we've got a significant amount that we can use, or is it the other way? Hey, we're going to use it to back. So we're not going to make the same sins as our father with another fiat. This time we'll go a quasi fiat. It's digital, but we've got some gold backing. It may not be the old 1-to-1 like it used to be, but we're going to use gold as a partial backing. So therefore, guys, we won't do it to you again, sort of thing.
Yeah, Joe, and that's just one scenario. Money is a made-up thing. It can be anything. Anything can be money. It doesn't have to be paper. It doesn't have to be digital. It can be anything. And throughout history, governments and men have made all kinds of different things money. Here's another scenario, Joe. the Fed doesn't actually buy assets. They have their balance sheet, 9 trillion, whatever it is, 8.5 trillion. They didn't buy that. They printed the money and put it in a little fund on the side, which really means we have 40 trillion in debt. But imagine the government decides instead of changing the price of gold, they're going to hold gold because if any of their tricks don't work, they're going to be in a better position. But instead, let's just knock 2 or 3 zeros off the debt. Well, you can't knock 2 or 3 zeros off the debt. Yeah, we can. We can just flush the Fed's debt. That 9 trillion, it's gone. The Fed doesn't lose any money. They just swept that debt's just gone. We knocked a couple zeros, and why would the Congress vote for that? Well, because now you can just do another $1 trillion, and it's not going to hurt because the debt payments are smaller now. You can do another $2 trillion spending. Biden can become a hero and spend another $4 or $5 trillion on all his pet projects. Just vote in it would be a bankruptcy. That's a type of bankruptcy, Joe. But there's all these things that can happen, and all that's going to happen with gold is it's going to become more and more and more valuable because people are going to see the fallacy of what's going on around us. More and more people are figuring it out every day, Joe. I saw that for the first time in our lives, the amount of money in banks by citizens actually went down. For the first time ever in our lifetimes, Joe. The deposits are smaller.
Well, and again, that makes a lot of sense, right? Because we haven't given stimulus checks out. Right. And now all of a sudden they've blown through that. They got used to spending more than what they should have been spending. And now all of a sudden you got balances starting to fall. 800-951-0592, whatever is left. But Jason and I, listen, we got a great half empty cup coming up next.